The sales to new listings ratio across the Greater Toronto Area through 28 full days of May 2024 is, well, it's pretty low. You're going to have to stick with me just a little bit longer to find out the answer to that Twitter poll that I showed you. But as we've discussed a couple times this month, it's going to be record setting. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Rob Marsiglio, sales representative with Keller Williams Referred Urban Realty, out here in Durham region, helping the great people of this part of the province and doing my best to bring you weekly content on this channel, covering all things Greater Toronto Area real estate with an emphasis on the numbers. If you are somebody who enjoys the numbers, who enjoys deep dives into the stats and trends, please like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything going forward. In this video specifically, we are going to touch on that Twitter poll that I dropped. Where is the sales to new listings ratio right now? What is happening with prices? Are they coming down as a result? And stick with me through to the end of the video so I can introduce you to this new ratio that I've been playing with that I think correlates very nicely to price gains and price drops across the Greater Toronto Area. Right back into this poll here that I posted on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. Guaranteed, if you want a bearish perspective on the market, head on over to Twitter. Everybody's choosing the lowest option, guaranteed. I've had 34% as the lowest sales to new listings ratio. The correct answer is actually 37% though. And like I said, that 37% is a record for May, just edging out 2022. And we saw that big downturn in the market early in the year as we were just getting through the beginning of this rate hiking cycle. When we take a look at the numbers broken down by the freehold, that's these black bars, in the condo market, you can see that the condos are in fact the lowest kind of reported sales as a percentage of new listings or sales to new listings ratio that we have seen. It's going to be at 33%, solidly in that technical buyer's market territory. It's not quite the lowest we've seen. It was a shade lower in 2022. Also 2017, that big correction that we saw early in the year that really hit freehold properties harder than condo properties. So there's a few years that have been lower sales as a percentage of new listings, but 2024 is not so hot. And while new listings have been on the lower end for freehold properties and on the higher end for condo properties, it's really the sales that is dragging this ratio down. Once again, an update to this chart that I've shared a couple of times on this channel, just looking at reported sales through 28 days in May. It's amazing the consistency that we saw from 2008 all the way through to 2013. Market really started picking up 2014, 15, 16 before we saw that big correction in 2017. And ever since then, these numbers have been all over the place. But one thing is for sure, if we do throughout 2020, it is the slowest sales year that we have seen both for condo properties and freehold properties, at least through the 28 full days in May. One thing we have talked about on this channel is that just because we're in that technical buyer's market territory does not mean the market is going to respond in the sense that prices will come down and that buyers have this extreme advantage in the market and they can get whatever property they want for whatever price they want. As we're going to see through these next 6 charts, I'm going to show you an update, year to date. What have prices done since January right up until now? What are sales numbers doing? We're going to break it down by geographic location, starting in the 416. The first market that we're going to look at is Toronto freehold properties. This is all as per the Toronto MLS. And what I've done is done data callouts on week 1 of May. So how did we kind of start the month? What was that 4-week moving average looking like for sale prices? And what does it look like now in week 4, kind of coming up to the end of May? You can see freehold properties. We saw the median price point jump about $50,000 from week 1 to week 4. And we were up, from about 1.15 million, let's call it, as the low point that we saw in week 3 of January. We did see this big jump from January through to March that we saw everywhere else. What you're going to notice on the next few charts is that things have really kind of plateaued in most of these other markets. Really only the Toronto freehold market that we have seen this uptick in at least median sale price. Market number 2 are those Toronto condos, and we've actually seen prices come down slightly, that median sale price from the beginning of May to the end of May. And really that's been a trend that we've seen emerge since, this one weekly data point, week 1 of April, is when we registered the highest median sale price across all condo properties in the 416. But I like to look at this dotted orange line, which again is that weighted moving average, kind of smooths things out, that week to week volatility. Again, we've seen that median price come down just over $4,000 from the start of May to the end of May. Something I want to highlight for all of these charts is that these sales numbers in the most recent week will be updated still. The kind of trickle in a little bit slower to this program that I pull sales data from. So again, these are not final sales numbers. Sales have not fallen off a cliff to this degree in this last week of May. Just something to keep an eye on as we keep going through these charts. Up next, we'll take a look at the best part of the GTA, that being Durham region. You can see things here, pretty good example of what a flat kind of market looks like, especially through the month of May. We've barely seen any movement in that median sale price, inching up just ever so slightly, about $1,000 worth. And again, sales totals really peaked, much like everywhere else in the GTA, in kind of mid-April, and have been really tailing off ever since then. Now, I did a video back in March kind of covering these similar charts, and I remember looking at the York region trend from January to March, and it was looking like prices were never going to stop growing in York region. But really, since the beginning of March, we haven't seen much price movement. If anything, the trend has been downwards with the exception of this past month. York region, the median sale price has not been moving quite a ton. And again, those sales numbers, same thing as Durham region, we saw really peak in sales activity kind of middle of April. Things have slowed down, really flattened out ever since then. All right, that's 4 charts down. We got 2 to go. Up next, we have Peel region. And in Peel region, we saw prices climb about $13,000, almost $14,000 in the median sale price from the beginning of May to the end of May. But again, relatively flat. We've been in a band of about $20,000 ever since the beginning of March. And we'll wrap it up with Halton region, which saw almost exactly, to this point at least, through the sales that we have collected, a jump of about $7,000 in that median sale price from the beginning of May to the end of May. So again, I think this is a great exercise just to show you that just because the technical definition of sales to new listings, or even if we're using months of inventory, that number that you're getting isn't going to spit out exactly what's going to be happening with prices. Just because it's a technical buyer's market does not mean prices are coming down. It's more than likely that if it's a seller's market, prices will be going up because you do see a lot of competition. But again, the reason I feel like this number, this sales to new listings or months of inventory, doesn't give a great indication as to whether it's a true buyer's market and buyers have the upper hand is because sellers have the option to terminate listings if they don't like the prices they're getting. And I feel like the more terminations we see relative to sales, or the fewer sales we see relative to terminations, is a pretty good indicator as to where the market's at and where things will be moving. I think it correlates very nicely. I put a couple charts together to wrap this video up that highlight exactly that. And here is the chart. It's the reported sales to terminations ratio as per Toronto MLS right across the GTA. So this is all property types. I've broken it down by freehold and by condo. So you can see that we had a pretty crazy start to 2020. You can remember prices were going nuts, getting away from us before. This is April. COVID happened. Things really slowed down. But when these numbers are kind of above 2, in that 2 or above range, that's when we have seen some of the most rapid price growth in the past few years, at least. You can see starting here, this is January and February of 2022 respectively. That's really when the market peaked. And as soon as we started cranking rates up, sales fell off, terminations relative to sales really picked up. And we were seeing actually less sales than terminations for a couple months' time here. Again, price jumps early in 2023 correlate nicely to this jump that we saw in sales to terminations ratio. Again, even in early 2024, we did see some big price movement from, February, especially in the freehold market. We saw big price moves in February. We saw some decent price moves in March as well. But it's really been a little bit more tame as this ratio starts to fall off. Another time frame that highlights this point very nicely is 2018 and 2019. And we're coming off the back of a big correction in 2017, like a huge correction in the suburbs, not so big in the city of Toronto. But again, this is a time when condo sales actually dominated. Condos performed very well. It's arbitrary, but prices grew much more rapidly in 2018, 2019 on the condo side than we saw on the freehold side in Toronto specifically. And here's exactly what I mean by that. You can see that the condo market from 2018 through to, the end of 2019, 2020 hovered in that 2 to 3 range when you're looking at the ratio of reported sales to properties that were terminated. Again, that's sellers choosing to remove a property from the market. Whereas on the freehold side, that ratio really hovered closer to 1, never even really got up to 2 until January of 2020 when the market really picked back up. And then it was kind of up and away really through until they started hiking rates in early 2022. But back to that 2018, 2019 timeframe, you can see that condo prices, they appreciated by 20.9% from January of 2018 to the end of 2019, whereas freehold properties in Toronto only grew by 8.9%. Yes, there is some base effect here in the sense that condos started at a much lower price point. They grew by just over $100,000 in that time frame, which represented that 21-ish% jump. The freehold market grew by 100,000 as well, but it was starting from a base of closer to 900,000. This is median price point we're talking, so it jumped from 900,000 up to about $1 million over that 2-year stretch. Bottom line, this is kind of useful in looking back to see these patterns, this correlation between price gains and price drops, and looking at this ratio of sales to terminations. What I can say is based on where we're at right now, it doesn't look like we are primed for any major price jumps. If anything, prices, I think, have peaked right now for 2024. I'll kind of call my shot. I think they have peaked. Seasonality would support that. We usually do see peak prices in the spring market right now. I think we'll start to see some turnover into the summer, and it's going to be very interesting to follow along with what happens with this ratio of sales to terminations. If we're seeing this ratio down hovering around 1 or just less than 1, it's a kind of a weak case for price growth in the Greater Toronto Area real estate market. Let me know what you think of this new fancy metric in the comments below. You think there's anything here? Do you see the correlation with price gains and price drops to this ratio? I did a post about it on X as well. Make sure to check it out over there and let me know what you think. I hope you've gotten some great value out of this video. If you did, please like it, subscribe to the channel. It really does help with me making these videos and reaching more people just like you who enjoy these deep dives into the numbers. Like I said, I do this on a weekly basis. So until we do speak again next week, please stay safe and cheers.